Pate. I am a director of technology at a charter school here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm also an educational technology consultant. So I do provide services to schools that are in need of ed tech leadership at the C-suite level. Maybe, you know, they don't have a me at their school, but they need support around that. So I do work in that space. I'm a former educator as well. I don't like to say former. I feel like once you were educator, you always educator. So I'm a former classroom teacher, still an educator, right? I'm a former classroom teacher. I taught in the classroom for 13 years of my 15-year career in education. And I've also served as director of technology. This is my 8th year in this role. So that is what I do. And at some point in time, I was actually doing teaching and ed tech leadership, but it became too much. 3 schools, trying to do what I do on a daily basis, plus teaching was a lot. So I finally was relinquished from my classroom duties at the end of the 2022 school year. So I've been out for about 3 years. But today I went to LACUE for day 2. Yesterday was day 1. I actually was a presenter for the very first time. That was fun. It was something else. LACUE for day 2. Yesterday was day 1. I actually was a presenter for the very first time. That was fun. It was something that was, like I told you, I've been doing this for many, many years, but had never presented at a conference or anything like that. And so, now my thing talking about some pause due to poor connection. So yesterday was my first day presenting. I presented on Google Classroom and turning Google Classroom to an evergreen experience. Stay tuned, because I will be taking that session that I did and transforming it into an opportunity for those of you who were not able to attend LACUE or not here in Louisiana to learn from me. And I'll show you some of the strategies that I taught at that session on how to transform your Google Classroom into like a workhorse, a powerhouse of information for you if you're in the education space. So before I continue, if you know anybody who's an educator, K-12 education is my main focus. I don't do higher ed. If you know anybody who's interested in becoming an ed tech leader in the K-12 space, if you know anyone who is a leader at a school, a founder, a CEO, a school leader, head of schools, anything like that, district leader, superintendent, anything of that nature, please by all means share this live, or at least share my profile with them so that I can connect with them, because I've recently shifted into doing tech consulting. I have been doing other things in my business prior to that around technology, but it was more centered and focused around business owners and helping solo entrepreneurs. But now I'm shifting my focus to the ed tech space and supporting schools with what they need. And so that being said, let's talk. Because this conference has been so eye-opening. That's also the reason why I love attending these type of conferences and these type of events, is because you get to network, right? You get to talk to other people. You get to just sit in a room with other people who are similar to you as far as their roles. You get to hear what's really at like top of mind for people. I was sharing with one of my friends who's on here tonight, Dina, how a lot of times when we are, you know, when we're the expert on a topic or area, we have in our mind the things that we want people to know, or we think people should want to know. But in actuality, that may not be the reality of what they're focused on, right? So the conference has helped me ground my work as an ed tech consultant in the fact that I'm able to listen in to the discussions that we're having, the conversations that we're having, the things that people are saying are keeping them up at night as tech leaders, as educators, as school leaders, as it relates to technology and education. And you gotta know that top of mind right now is AI, right? We've seen it in the business space for a while, exploding. People are making videos. People are duplicating themselves and making AI twins. People are using AI for all sorts of things. But at a business level, it's slightly different, right? Especially if you're just an entrepreneur out here doing your thing, providing your services, selling your product. It's one thing. But when you start to involve people under the age of 18, minors, right, in that, it becomes a more complicated order. Because you have to think about protecting those users, right, in a way that we don't get ourselves concerned about as adults, right? We go on Chat GPT, we do whatever. But when you talk about AI in the K-12 space, you have to be mindful of the users, right? And we're mindful of the age of the users, and make sure that you are not putting them at risk, right? And you also have to teach them how to identify fraudulent, false information that AI can potentially push out versus what's real. And so it becomes a tall order in the education space when it comes to AI. But what I'm also noticing is there's a real fear. And I'm pausing right there because I really need y'all to know this. So even if you're not an educator and you're listening to me right now, if you have children who are school age, what I'm saying to you, what I'm telling you is going to be important, because you're going to have to be an advocate in a lot of ways. But there's a real fear of technology. A real fear of technology. And you may say, well, how could that be, right? Schools got tech everywhere. Just because they have the resources doesn't mean that they are comfortable with having said resources. I still have teachers to this day who use their smart board that's in front of their classroom as just a projector screen for their laptop. Meanwhile, the smart board itself can do everything that their laptop can do and then some. But because of the fear, because of the comfortability they have with the tools that they've been using for the last 5, 10, however long they've been having their laptop, they just want to plug it in and do everything from that laptop. When the powerhouse, right, of the room is really the smart board that's available to them at the front of the room. Or on the flip side of that, we have the people who the teacher is using all the tech, but the students are not getting a chance to be interactive or engage with it. So the teacher's at the board doing all kind of fun stuff on the interactive panel, but the students are just sitting there spectating and not really getting to participate. And so we have these two variations, if you will, when it comes to technology fears. And then we have leadership. This is no shade, because we have some leadership in schools that are very progressive. They're very forward thinking. They're very future ready, future focused. They are all about making sure that their students are ready for the future. That's not the norm, though. I just need people to know that that is not the norm. Okay, it's telling me to do something. Okay. That's not the norm. A lot of teachers, a lot of educators, a lot of school leaders are not open-minded people. They're not risk takers, right? Some of them, in fact, have been out of the classroom so long that they don't even really know what's going on. They really don't know the day-to-day, right? They haven't taught a soul in 20 years. They haven't even done a professional development. Like, if you are here right now, you're an educator, you're in education space, like, let me know, when was the last time you saw a principal, a superintendent, a district level administrator delivering a high quality, effective professional development? Tell me the last time you saw that. When was the last time? Listen, telling y'all stuff at the beginning of the school year is not professional development. Talk about something. Here's the classroom expectations. This is what. Make sure you turn your lessons plans in on Wednesday by 5 p.m. That's not professional development. Okay? So if that's what you think it is, if that's what you've been calling professional development, if that's what your school leader has been using to justify and say, I have been teaching, I have been doing stuff, I do a PD every beginning of every school year, and I talk to the people. That's not professional development. All right? Professional development is just what it says. It is an intentional opportunity, learning opportunity for your staff, where they engage in learning relevant skills or content, or getting relevant skills, content, and information that they can use to improve their practice on a day-to-day basis. Telling people where their duty post is at the beginning of the school year is not professional development. But some of your school leaders think so, and they just, they're like, I do PDs all summer with my staff. No, you do fire drills. No, you tell people where to stand at lunchtime. You tell people what posters need to be up and what the objectives, if you even talking about objectives, because a lot of principals and stuff, they've left the education stuff, right? They've left the standards and all of that stuff to somebody else. They don't even touch that stuff. They just here to tell you, make sure you turn in your payroll information. And sometimes, again, they're not even doing that. They got an HR person for that. So school leaders, a lot of times, are very detached, very disconnected from what is actually happening, what is actually needed, what is actually being experienced by not only their staff but the students, right? And then when you throw in a tool like technology, and you add that layer to things, it can make things just even more complicated, because again, we're talking about educators who the last time they were in the classroom, a dry erase board was next level innovation. You feel what I'm saying? Because listen, when I was in high school back in 1990, they were still using chalkboard. We had a few classes that had gotten a dry erase board, and we was like, ooh, right? Y'all remember when dry erase first dropped? That felt high tech. You mean to tell me I could write on it to just wipe it off like that? Right? That felt fancy at one point. I'm not even joking. Like, a dry erase board felt fancy to us at one point. Those of us who are millennials and Gen Xers, shout out to y'all, because y'all know what I'm talking about. But in our present day landscape, with interactive panels and so forth, a lot of the people who are at the top have never used that. Right? And if they happen to use one to deliver their professional development, they're doing the same thing that I mentioned before. They're plugging in a laptop and just casting to it as an additional screen. They're not actually using the tools. And so I've been asking myself, like, what is it? What is the reason? What is happening? Like, why are we seeing this, misuse of resources by schools? And it's because of fear. When I've been hearing conversations, overhearing, eavesdropping, kind of like listening, to put my ear to the wall with the glass on what people are saying at this conference over the last 2 days, what I'm hearing a lot is fear. And fear in the education space is completely contradictory to what we have, to the expectation that we actually have of our students. Because we're expecting them to go out here and change the world. Are we not? I mean, is that not what you want your baby to do? Even if you're not educated, listen to me right now, and you have a child who's school age in K-12, you want your baby to be out here changing the world. You want your baby to have skills that can impact people's lives in a wonderful way. You want your child to be a change agent. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. But your child could very well be at a school under the leadership of someone who is crippled by fear when it comes to change, when it comes to advancement, especially when it comes to an advancement like technology, which is something that's rapidly changing. Listen, we sitting here talking right now, and I guarantee you by the time we get off of here, something will have changed. A button will have been added or removed. An interface will not look like it looked when you logged in yesterday. Right? Something right now is changing. Software developers are working at this very moment to update, right? To change, to improve, to add a feature, remove a feature, enhance a feature, all sorts of things, right? And so when things move that quickly, because you got to remember, once upon a time, education moved rather slow. And I'm saying that because once upon a time, we got all of our information when it was time to do research from books, and magazine articles that we had to go and check out or make copies of at the local library, right? Shout out to everybody who mama bought the World Book Encyclopedia in the house when the man came. It was like, I got encyclopedias. But that meant that while I had that resource in my home, or we had those resources, that we were limited to the publication date of said resources. We were limited to information that was just published maybe, a year or two ago. Now, fast forward to 2025, and that information is changing every single day. New information is coming out every single day. New studies, new research is being published online every single day. We don't have to wait till the new edition of the internet comes out for us to get access to the latest, greatest, newest, most current information about a topic or subject. You feel what I'm saying? So now it's almost like technology is running us down, right? It's outpacing us. It's coming to a point where it's like we can't, and I'm saying we because I'm just speaking in a generality of those of us who are in the education space, not me personally, but we can barely keep up because everything else is changing rapidly except for the curriculum, except for the pedagogy, except for, right? People like, I don't want to shame nobody, and I wish I had the book in front of me, and I think I have it at my office at work, not here, because I keep, two libraries. I got my personal library at home. I got my work library at work. But books that once upon a time were like the Holy Grail and the Bible of teaching are now obsolete. The strategies, the methodologies, the frameworks, a lot of that stuff is obsolete now. Not because it wasn't quality information, not because it still doesn't have some teeth to it, but because of the simple fact that things have changed. So if you wrote a book on pedagogy, teaching strategies 10 years ago, how to engage students, how to help your students do critical thinking and deep research, that book is nothing now. Because 10 years fast forward and the conversation is different. The strategy and the methodology is different. We're not talking about simply citing sources anymore. We're talking about how to create a prompt for AI. We're talking about how to identify AI hallucinations, misinformation, or biases in AI. We're talking about how to use AI to automate tasks and so forth. How to use AI to create learning opportunities and assessments and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the conversation is different now. So that book 10 years ago, that Holy Grail of teaching, that Bible, that bestseller, right, is no longer that. And like I said, what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing, what I've been getting at this conference these last 2 days is a sense of anxiety, overwhelm, fear, worry, concern about technology and how it's impacting education. And as an ed tech leader myself, that saddens me. And I'm definitely, because I am a former classroom teacher, still an educator at my core, right? That saddens me that people are so afraid, right? To the point of we're just not going to talk about it. We're just not going to discuss it. We're just going to ban it across the board. We don't have time to address that. When are we going to have time to train teachers and train and teach students and We already have enough. Teachers already have enough on their plates. We're already dealing with a shortage. We're already dealing with pay issues, right? We're already dealing with so many other issues and problems and concerns. The last thing we need to add to the mix is some damn artificial intelligence. Let's just not worry about that right now, when really they should be seeing it as an opportunity. Should be seeing it as an opportunity to support, not replace. Hello, somebody today, and good morning to you. Support, not replace, what teachers, administrators, and so forth have to do and deal with on a day-to-day basis. My session that I presented on yesterday, wow, I am a director of technology, and I could have easily gone and hosted a session that was geared towards people like me. I never want to be that type of tech leader that's so high up in my mind, right, in my mind, that I forget what the heart and soul is of the building that I work in every day. And that is the teachers. Some people gonna say the students. That's so cute. That's cute that you think the students are they're the most precious resource in the building, but they are not they're not the it factor that makes the difference. The kids who have poor teachers perform poorly. So if you have teachers coming to work stressed, overwhelmed, discouraged, morale is low, overworked, underpaid, sleep deprived, money deprived, time deprived, right? And you're expecting them to show up and continue to pour out from their barren cups into your child. Please know your child is not getting a quality education off of that. If Ms. Walker was up till 4 o'clock last night grading papers and had to come to work and clock in at 7 because arrival starts at 7:30, so Miss Walker's only working off of 3 hours of sleep, you got to know, unless she putting some coffee in her mug or taking some B12, her energy is going to be low. She might have an attitude. And let Miss Walker be like me in her 40s, she could be going through perimenopause. Just saying. Right? So she's not going to have the best attitude or disposition when it comes to teaching that day. Or any day, if that's her routine, right? If this is routinely how Miss Walker operates, she's up late, coming in early, all the things, you got to know that at some point your child's experience is going to be impacted. So I know, we like to think that children are everything and we love them. They're precious. They're precious. Oh, we love the babies. We love the kids. Oh my God, we love them so much. Teachers, quality teachers, happy teachers, respected teachers, satisfied teachers, teachers who have access to tools and the resources that they need to do their job and do their job with excellence make a world of difference. But they're the cream in the cookie, right? We don't really eat Oreos for the outside. We want the cream in the middle, right? Right? They're the cream of the cookie. But if the top layer, which is leadership and administration, has fears and trepidation about what's happening, but the teachers don't, right? You're going to keep hitting this Velcro-like resistance. You're going to keep hearing that, right? This ripping and this tearing, because what's going to happen is the teachers who can do, will do. They're going to go rogue, right? So while teachers, while staff member, not staff members, while leadership is in fear mode, I'm so scared, technology, no, get it away from me. Know that, and this goes to anybody who's in leadership, your teachers are going to go around you. They feel like you are slowing them down and holding them back and depriving their children, their students, of a quality education because you scared. They're going to go around you. They're going to set up their own accounts. They're going to go do a GoFundMe to get what they need or want. They're going to go above you and around you. They're going to crowdfund on social media. They're going to get somebody to donate. They're going to find a way to do it. I mean, the real ones going to do that. They're going to be like, shh. We can't have what? We don't have money to do who? Y'all don't want to let us use what? And confession, I was that teacher. Okay. I was that teacher. I went rogue. Right? I went on and found resources that weren't being used. I was that teacher. I went rogue. Right? I went on and found resources that weren't being used because you can handle it. You're so good with the knuckleheads, right? No, y'all wasn't going to stress me out. So yes, I was one of those educators that went rogue. I mean, it worked out for me because here I am today doing what I do. But I was that person. I was that person. I was the person that was online, looking for tools to solve the problems that I was experiencing in my classroom, even if the leader wasn't looking to problem solve. I was like, this is a problem in my room. This is a concern for me. My students are challenged or struggling or whatever, and I have to be the answer. They're looking to me to be the answer. They're with me all day. They want the answer to come from me. And leadership is out of touch with what's happening. Leadership is got bigger fish to fry. So yeah, I went around. I Googled, searched, found platforms, okay, to put my kids on, right? I found this new tool. I found this new resource. We're going to try this. Okay, I got kids who are reading at this level. We need to get them to this level. We're going to try this. Oh, I got kids who are advanced, and I'm trying to figure out how to keep them engaged and enriched so that they're not just feeling like, frustrated because things are not moving at the pace that they want. I got to find something for them. I got to find something for the babies that's behind. I got to find something for the babies that's on level. It's on me. Because leadership isn't doing it. I freemiumed and free 99 so many tools over the years, depending on what was needed. And that's how I became the tech savvy educator that I am. That's how I was able to comfortably say, hey, I see a gap here that needs to be filled. I see an opportunity here for an administrative position that y'all ain't filled yet. Y'all got somebody resetting passwords, and that's cute. But what about the day-to-day, like the everyday? What about someone who's analyzing and evaluating and staying ahead of the curve, right? Researching what's coming, what's next, what's hot, what's new, what's trending. What about somebody who's thinking about the budget and how to better utilize our resources? Is someone doing that level of work? No. And so I was like, hey, let it be me. And I now have been doing this work. I'm in my 8th year. But I know that even though I have been successful at initiatives and implementation of a lot of things, some of it took a long time. Some of it required a lot of convincing. Some of it still hasn't happened and needs to happen. Let me tell you. Like tomorrow, it needs to happen. Like yesterday, it needs to happen. But there's still other factors. Fear, the budget, right? That are impacting what's happening. And I feel, I was again, as I was talking to one of my friends on my way home from the conference, I felt, I've been getting, and I'm like more and more excited each day with the interactions I've had and the conversations I'm having, the knowledge that I'm gaining. Not necessarily that I'm learning something so groundbreaking or earth shattering, but just like I said, having conversations, hearing what other schools are doing. There are definitely outliers in the state of Louisiana as far as schools that are way, more progressive and ahead of the curve. And they are, gee whiz. They got, top of the line this and, top of the line that. And they have all of the things, right? But then there is a plethora. Oh, Jesus. A plethora of schools in Louisiana that don't have. And that is heartbreaking. The number of school districts, listen to me, because I'm in New Orleans, where all of our schools primarily are charter schools. So when I have to have a conversation about something that needs to change at my school, I don't have to go all the way to the district, right? I don't have to go to the school board. I don't have to go to, now we still do have NOLA Public Schools as a, the board, the organization itself, but they do not directly run most of the schools in the city. That means that conversations about resources, conversations about training and development for staff, conversations about tools that, learning tools for students and so forth. I'm having that conversation with the CEO, the head of schools, not a superintendent or someone like that. Which means that the conversations are being had in-house, right? That also means that the pocketbook for these things, for these initiatives, is in-house. There's no let me take this to the board, let me take this to the school district and see if they will do it. Which also means there's a level of inequity that's happening, because I, as the tech leader at my school, am having a totally different conversation with my leader than the school up the street. Which means that if my leader is more open-minded and more willing, then I am going to be able to get access to things that the school up the street, with children who are just as deserving as the children at my school, they're going to go without. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of the challenges that I've been facing, as a tech leader in a charter school space, is because what I can accomplish at my one school, and two, we have two campuses, but it's one school technically, is not necessarily accomplishable for the school up the street. Now, when you talk about districts, it's a little different, because the district says, okay, how many students you have at your school? Send in this number of resources. How many students you have at your school? Send in this number of resources. So that everybody gets what they need to get, right? Everybody gets an equal access to the resources. If they say they're rolling out a new curriculum, everybody gonna get new books, and everybody's gonna be on the same curriculum. That's not necessarily the case in the charter world. The books that we're using at my school may not be the books that they're using at the school of the street. the page that we on tomorrow is not the page they on tomorrow, right? So when we bring that to the tech side of things, that also means my school might have a surplus of devices, school up the street barely hanging on, or vice versa, right? My school might be the one barely hanging on. School up the street got a plethora of resources. My school might have the newest, most fanciest interactive panels. The school up the street might still be working off of a rolling transparency projector. It's charter world. Don't know. But I do also know that even in the district setting, even in the district model, and like I say, we're not a district. We don't have a district per se in New Orleans. We have charters. Leadership oftentimes determines what staff and students get access to, even at that level, even at the district level, right? Because a lot of times the district will offer schools a certain, certain things, certain resources, and the school themselves may turn it down and say, no, we don't need that here. No, we don't have nobody to manage that. No, we don't have the time. No, we don't have the staffing. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, for whatever reason. They say, we don't want it. When really, a lot of this is rooted in fear. Fear of the unknown, right? Technology is a very question mark type of industry to be in. Like every day is like question mark. Trust me. Every day is like, I do a lot of that at work. Right? Problem solving, things come up. I can't do this on my computer. I can't find what my file with. I had saved it, thought I said it was in my drive, and I can't find. I got this weird email. Should I click the link? Right? Don't click that. No, but in all seriousness, I get it. I get that education is not moving at the speed of technology. Technology is running us down. You hear me? Technology is leaving us in the dust, in the dirt, like kicking up smoke, right? And we're trying, because there's not a school on this planet that doesn't want to graduate students that are ready for the world that they're going to be stepping into as college students, as entrepreneurs, as tradesmen and women, as service members in the military, or whatever it is, choice that is that they make, right? No one wants to be the school that graduates people that fail in life, right? And I honestly don't know how many schools track their graduates and see like what are our graduates doing, what are our graduates accomplishing, to really be able to quantify this stuff. Because I think that's what the measure of a school is, not so much how well some kids did on a standardized test. I think it's how well you're doing in life, right? What are you doing? What career do you have? What's your what's your income? And I know that might seem like that's a little personal, mind your business, but that's more telling of the quality of experience and education that child received versus a standardized test score. Argue with your mama, don't argue with me. I'm just saying, that's my opinion, and my opinion alone, right? Or maybe you agree, but I do know that if schools leaders, and I'm looking in two places because I got TikTok over here and Instagram over here, school leaders don't begin to prioritize and take seriously the role of technology, that the role that technology is playing present day, ing, not played, has played, no playing. And I'm not just talking about the tangible physical stuff. I'm not talking about just the Chromebook. I'm not talking about just the iPad. I'm talking about the role of technology. If school leaders are not taking heed, paying attention, being responsive and not reactive, being proactive and not reactive, right, to the role and the influence and the impact that technology is having on teaching, on learning, on how we do things on a day-to-day, facilities management, operations, all of those things, right? Technology is influencing all of that at the school level right now. So if K-12 leaders are not thinking about that, they're setting the kids up and they're setting their staff up for failure. Right? And if you're treating technology at your school as just another thing versus the thing that has the potential to transform how teachers teach and how students learn for the better, then yeah, it's going to always feel like a heavy lift. It's going to always feel like the weight of the world on one's shoulders. It's going to always feel like an extra thing. But the fear is real. I see it, I sense it, I can smell it like blood in the air. The fear is real. And that real fear is impacting our children in a negative way, because that means that our children are not getting the same opportunities, right? They're being disadvantaged because of someone's personal feelings. And education, while there's personal nuances to it when you're talking about building rapport, right, with your kids and having that relationship and all of that kind of stuff, while there's personal nuances to it, when it comes to equity, access, opportunities, experiences that students are to have or should be able to have, you let fear keep you from allowing your staff or students to experience what's possible. You can't do it. You cannot let fear cripple you as a leader in the K-12 space. You just can't do it. You gotta be a risk taker. Should be a job requirement. It should be on there somewhere. Risk taker, right? You've got to be open-minded. No one's asking you to be the most savviest person in the room. Nobody's asking you to be the smartest person in the room. But you've got to be smart enough to know and have enough wherewithal to listen to the people who are smart in those areas where you are not as brilliant. You got to say, hey, listen, I don't know that much about technology, but we got this technology leader over here that we hired that's on our staff, and she says, and he says, so I think we should listen to them. And we should try to figure this thing out. And we should try to train our teachers. And we should try to make sure our technology is compatible. And we should make sure that, we keep a little earmark funds every year in the budget for this thing and that thing. We got to make sure. But fear is going to be the death of our education system at K-12 level. I said it. This may be the first time you ever heard somebody say that. But fear from the top down, from the top, at the top level, is going to be the death of our education system as we know it. I'm in Louisiana, a red state. I'm at the Louisiana Computer Using Educators Conference, which means most of the people there are from right here in Louisiana. And when hands go up in the room, when a question is asked about things like, what schools have an AI policy? What schools have a spelled out, detailed AI policy that they have, shared with their students and staff and implement, and the hands go up in the room and it's only a handful? When the question about what schools allow or don't allow AI tools and hands go up saying, half the room, more than half the room says, nope, we ain't doing it. I start wondering what the heliante, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Because if you think that because it's not being used at your school, that it's not being used. Remember I told you about the rogue teacher that was me? Yeah. The students gonna go rogue and so are the teachers. So how fair or unfair is it that based on whether or not a student has access to a computer at home or not will determine whether or not they're able to access AI tools to help them study, create presentations, and do research, whereas another student doesn't have that access at home, but does have access to a computer at school, but because school has banned it, still does not have access to that resource, that AI tool to help them. Whether it means leveling the text that they're reading so that they better understand it, whether it means translating the text so that your students who are EL students or what have you can actually read it and understand it, whether it means creating an audio read along of said text or audio summary of said text, because this person is more of an auditory learner and all of that reading is going to stress them out, so it's better if they listen, or whatever the case may be. Just because access doesn't exist at school does not mean that they're not accessing it at home, which means they're putting the other kids at a true disadvantage because, hey, I got access at home. Teacher said, no, you cannot use AI in my classroom to help you do any of your assignments because we're banning it. It's banned. Can't do it. It's bad. We're not doing it. But then they go home and they say, well, shit. Let me go ask Gemini and ChatGPT this right quick. And let me get this paper written. And then they turn it in. Right? And meanwhile, the kid who doesn't have access to it at home, and because y'all, so scared and banning everything, doesn't have access to it at school either, is struggling. And here you are giving kudos and coupons and, this is such a well-written, well-researched, well-developed paper. Oh my God, you're just a stellar student. Now your ego getting stroked because you thinking you done taught something. Because they're producing this high quality work. You're like, my students are able to do this and that and the third. Baby, your students are able to use AI. That's what it is. It's not you. It's not you, Bookie. Bookie, it's not you. Or let's put it toward the teachers, right? They say, hey, nobody using it. Can't nobody use it. But the teacher that is using it, students are getting outcomes and results. They're more happier, less stressed. You go in there and observe that classroom and you're like, wow, this was wonderful. This lesson was so amazing and engaging. I love the part where you had to this and that. Meanwhile, that was done through AI. Now they're nominated for Teacher of the Year. And yeah, they're Teacher of the Year now. But they've been using AI to help them. Not to replace them, but to help them. as an aid, as a virtual assistant, as a tool to brainstorm, and a thought partner, right? Teacher of the year. You've done such an amazing work. We would love for you to lead a professional development on to show us how to get the results that you've gotten. Nah, I can't do that. Can't tell you my secret. You say AI wasn't allowed, but at my house, ain't no man on AI at the crib. Right? So this is why it's so important. Because it's creating a fallacy. It's creating like a false positive, right? The kids who are using AI out, and have access to the resources to use AI are using it, and they're studying, using it to study, using it to understand, using it to create, and they are just excelling leaps and bounds beyond the students who don't have access to those things outside of school because the school banned them. The teacher is getting results. Things are happening in that classroom space that wouldn't be happening if she hadn't brainstormed with AI or teaching strategy or a method or a framework or some ideas to motivate her students and how to create certain interactive, engaging projects and things, because she had ideas galore. But you told her no AI, and she went to AI anyway when she got home, and she found out a way to create this new resource or do this new activity, and it really, really worked. And her kids are just getting a whole different experience because y'all feel what I'm saying. I ain't got to keep saying it. Y'all know what's up. But I'm excited. Nevertheless, y'all know what's up. But I'm excited. Nevertheless, some education leaders, like school leaders, because I'm at a charter school, I would love to work with those of you who with those school leaders who are at charter schools or smaller type schools. Could be private, could be parochial. They still use that word. Catholic, schools, like, schools in the archdiocese, those kind of things. I would love to work with those schools because, again, the purse is in the building. The decision maker is sitting across the table from me. They don't have to take it up, up the ladder. The ladder stops in the building, right? I would love to work with those schools and help them. I would love to help schools like my school, similar to my school, or even schools that aren't as similar but are trying to get there. They're the little engine that could, to help them to develop their AI policies and kind of give them guidance around that, or to help implement things. At least, what does AI look for admin, right? What does technology usage and AI integration look like for admin? And then what does it look like for teachers? And what could it look like for your students, right? So there's 3 levels to that. Love to work with your school leaders to discuss creating strategic plans around these things, creating a professional development calendar or a trainings, that can be put in a portal somewhere, whether it's on a asynchronous, on your own self-guided type of vibe, or whether it's hybrid and I come and I show up virtually and work with your staff, work with the people who need what I have to offer. I would love to do that. I absolutely love to do that. So if you're not following my other page on Instagram, which is We Get Innovated, please make sure you follow that one. after this conference, possibly sometime next week, definitely while I'm on break. I know this little puzzle piece thing about to pop up on TikTok. But definitely while I'm on winter break, because I have 2 weeks off, I will be working on dropping my 2026 services suite, meaning a list of things that I will be offering to educators, tech leaders, and so forth. Oh, the other thing that I'm looking forward to doing in 2026, y'all, be in prayer about these things for me, girl. Ladies and gentlemen, in case there's some fellas listening. But I also, at this conference, was able to get wind of how many people are new to this as far as ed tech leadership. Meaning maybe they were an instructional coach, or they were a master teacher, and they have now transitioned into being the instructional technology facilitator, or whatever their title is at their school, right? But they're their school's version of me, right? But they're new, they're fresh, right? So they haven't quite established their processes and systems and methodologies and so forth, or maybe they have been at it for a while. They got thrown into it, but they've never received any type of formal training or support. I'm looking forward to providing mentorship / coaching for those types of folks. That's something that I'm really excited about, because I do think that when you feel empowered as a tech leader, then you know how to, and you know what you need to do. You know what you need to say to make change happen. And then you know how to set those realistic expectations for what change is, needs to be, etc. And then you're able to learn how to make those decisions, budgeting decisions, vendor relationship building, analytics, understanding. And these are the type of things that we will probably cover in the mentorship program. I'm not quite sure at this very moment, as I speak about it, whether this will be a summer mentorship type situation, or whether this will be something that is done throughout the school year. Could be two different versions of it. I'm still trying to determine what my capacity is, so it may end up being something that's a summer thing, which works perfectly, right? Because that's when a lot of our work gets done, is in the summertime in preparation for the upcoming school year. So it probably will look something like a spring summer mentorship program for now, until my capacity says otherwise. So put a pin in that. But I do appreciate you all joining me for day 2 recap of LACUE. I hope that you will continue to share my profile, my information with those that you know in your family, friend circle, church community, sorority, fraternity, whatever you do, right? Your school. Share my profile, my Instagram, my TikTok, my website will be up really soon. That's actually something I want to launch over the break. I want to get that up and going for 2026. But I would love to connect. So make sure you do that. If you are on TikTok, you can just drop me a message. Your name and email address is all I really need. Put that in the chat, in my DM, in my inbox. I'll reach out to you. I'll connect with you. We can chat. I'm on LinkedIn. I am Chris Pate everywhere. But my consulting business is We Get Innovated, or it's actually Get Innovated, but it's We Get Innovated on the as far as my Instagram handle is concerned. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate y'all. Tomorrow is my last day at the conference. It's day 3 tomorrow. It ends a little bit early, so I may come a little earlier to share my reflections. But this is going to continue to be a conversation that I'm going to have. So again, send your people my way. Let's connect. I love to have some panel discussions, something going on. I don't know. Maybe a podcast might be popping up out of this joint. I don't even much know, but your girl is down for it, and I'm ready for it. My vibe is my vibe. So while this is in fact, education, I'm a very, very casual, chill, relaxed, easygoing person. I don't like to talk jargon and too much lingo and all that kind of stuff and talk above people's heads. I like to keep it straight, no chaser, simple, easy to digest information, processes and ideas. Nothing that's going to overwhelm you, and have you, stressed out more than what you already are. You don't need that. Don't nobody need that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So again, I thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Peace out.